Hello.
Yeah, welcome back. Are you ready for session 2?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yes, so let me give the notice again for those who joined after the conference started. So please carefully read the notice on the screen. If you have any questions for speakers, please post them in Q&A section on Zoom. Moderators will collect them for discussion. If you have any comments to share, please post them in the chat.
Αυτό τώρα είναι
In the
ανοιχτό.
language
Γιατί
for
δεν είναι πλέον.
translation, press the Earth-like icon on the menu. Please click it and you can tune in on English, Korean, and Greek channel. From now on, we have Volker Finnegan.
Hello there. Good morning or good afternoon where you are. Well, thanks very much. I'm delighted. It's been a very stimulating morning so far, and I think it's great to have this opportunity to cross borders. We have a session here which deals with two themes. That's citizenship, education, vulnerable groups, and human rights, and then democracy and citizenship education. We're joined by the 7 people who are going to be presenting from the US, from Greece, and Costa Rica. And I think even though these are separate themes, they're obviously intimately connected. And I think they speak to the crisis that people have mentioned a couple of times already, probably more accurately to talk about poly crisis. And I look forward to what our speakers have to say about dealing with a complex world, an unequal world in terms of both wealth and power, a precarious world in terms of society and the environment, and also how we might begin to tackle a global culture of distrust in order to take back a sense of the future. And I think the type of discussion we're having about learning cities really speaks to that, to reimagine the city as a space of democracy. So we had the 7 speakers will take up issues of theory and practice, the city and the society, science and social movements, and I think feed us with a sense of how an imaginative and intellectual leap might help us reimagine learning and adult education. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Professor Alexis Kokkos from the Hellenic Open University. He's a very well-known figure in European adult education, also a key thinker in terms of transformative learning and some of the dialogue that's happening between Europe and America on that topic. He has a particular interest in how critical thinking can be fostered through aesthetic experience. So I'm going to pass over to you, Alexis. Thanks very much. Can you hear me? We've got 15 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much, Fergal, and so nice to meet you and all the other colleagues in this conference. So, dear colleagues, I suppose that all of us share the idea that we live in a world where democracy suffers. Some fundamental reasons refer to economic inequality, unemployment, and exploitation of the poor. In addition, there are further major problems such as intolerance, violence, fundamentalism in all sorts of domains, populism, as well as the devastating influence of mass culture. So
Alexis,
here, we have a problem. We have a problem with the slides.
Just 1 second. Thank you. I can see some comments in the chat, and I'll speak to them in a second.
Oh.
Thanks for your patience.
May I continue now?
Yeah, you need to share it fully. Can our hosts help with that? Okay.
Okay, so within this context of fundamentalism, violence, intolerance, populism, etc. Lost again. Human rights, yeah, that's right. Human rights of freedom, justice and tolerance, enlightenment, and equality of opportunities are violated to a large extent. All of these problems affect mainly the vulnerable social groups, the unemployed, the ill, people in the third age, refugees and migrants, as well as the social, ethnic, and religious minorities. People of vulnerable groups feel treated and despised. They become increasingly passive and silent. Their social and individual consciousness atrophies. As a result, an imperative need arises to enhance active citizenship, understood as a field where people undertake their role of aware and responsible citizens. They participate in various domains of social and political life. They influence the public discourse and the decision-making processes that concern them, as well as they formulate common action plans that respond to their vital interests. Educational institutions and organizations, mainly adult education ones, may contribute to this process. They can function as focal points where people can meet, communicate, learn together, participate in democratic dialogical processes, perceive and challenge the problematic assumptions they have embraced, and become interested and involved in public affairs. Thus, adult education settings can become crucial microcosms where learners are equipped with the necessary capabilities to realize and exercise their rights and take control of their lives. However, there are considerable difficulties in this process, and I would like to underline these difficulties. The participation of the vulnerable groups in adult education activities is very low. For example, in 2018, only 4.3% of low-educated adults in the European Union, aged between 25 and 64 years old, participated in adult education, while the corresponding share of all adults was 11.1%. Two main reasons can be identified. The first reason is that most of the governments do not give emphasis on the reinforcement of the participation of these groups in adult education. Second reason is the vulnerable group's own attitude towards adult education. Given that the vulnerable groups are not familiar with the educational practices due to their socialization, of course, they are often distanced from participating in them. Consequently, one of the major concerns of organizations, social movements, and educators who struggle for the development of citizenship and democracy should be the increase of opportunities and motives for vulnerable groups regarding their participation in adult education. However, even when the members of the vulnerable groups participate in adult education, they typically face additional inherent constraints in undertaking initiatives regarding their learning choices and actions, and in turn could reinforce, which in turn could reinforce their capabilities pertaining to active participation in society. More specifically, learners from vulnerable groups often adopt the role of the traditional passive learner thereby distancing themselves from actually getting involved in dialogue within their learning group or performing responsibilities concerning the aims and the teaching strategy of their studies. Freire identified this phenomenon as culture of silence, that is, a situation where vulnerable groups are silent in the sense that they are forbidden to participate creatively in social life. They have no historical consciousness of their oppressive socio-cultural condition. They take it for granted and are unable to understand that this is the cause of their misery. What is more, they cannot consider that they could become themselves active subjects who, through learning and action, would attempt to transform the societal status quo. Hereby, according to Freire, what the educators should seek is, on the one hand, to stimulate an open democratic dialogue in the classroom, and on the other hand, to gradually reduce their intervention so that learners take an active role. Mezirow, in turn, focused on another crucial issue. Even assuming that a number of learners decide to take the initiative to be involved into a critical mode of learning, it is not self-evident that they will follow the appropriate route. This can happen because learners are often unable to make clear diagnosis of their own learning needs and formulate their own learning goals. To the extent that this self-knowledge is missing and learners are not fully aware of their own best interests, then participatory learning may be proved practically disoriented. And learners may need help in order to become aware of the cultural and societal forces that inhibit them to recognize their interests. Accordingly, both Freire and Mezirow intensively explored ways that might help vulnerable learners to take an increasingly active role within processes of transformative learning. Freire and Mezirow's ideas, together of course with similar contributions of indicatively Granton, Fleming, Brookfield, or Kagan, these ideas can formulate a framework of guidelines that are addressed to emancipatory adult educators. First, an adult educator should progressively reduce the learner's dependency on him or her. This includes helping the learners understand how to use learning resources, assist them to define their authentic learning needs, expand the range of their options, emphasize experiential, participative instructional methods, and reinforce learners' self-concept. Second, an adult educator should examine his or her students' learning capacities and avoid creating learning designs that might be asking them to move at a rate that would be unsustainable for them. Third, the learning process should be imbued by recognition, a notion understood as an interpersonal process of caring and support that builds reciprocal self-respect, self-esteem, and self-confidence. Fourth, an adult educator should attempt to establish a supportive, meaningful, and empathetic learning environment that may allow participants to share information openly and achieve mutual and consensual understanding. Fifth, humility and openness of educators are essential within this process. Finally, the value judgments of educators themselves are open to criticism and re-evaluation. Concludingly, the challenge for adult educators is to initially assist their learners, but then progressively enable them to rely on their own strengths so that they may eventually make their own way in critically dealing with the subject matters at hand. In doing so, learners from vulnerable groups might become more capable of participating in the learning process, as well as being critically reflective on their own and others' assumptions. Accordingly, they could become aware of the social conditions that influence their lives and be empowered to participate in the society as active citizens and fight for human rights. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much, Alexis. That's a very comprehensive and useful overview. Great to get us started in this session. If people want to address comments and questions in the chat or in the Q&A section, please do so. While we're going to now move on to the second part of this section, which is the city presentation from the Municipality of Heraklion. And I think it's going to be led by Angelakis Nikolaos, who's the Deputy Mayor of Education, Lifelong Learning and Youth. A presentation has also been done by Sisamakis Georgios, Deputy Mayor of Development Planning, Digital Transformation and Rural Development, and Papadaki Eirini, Deputy Mayor of Social Services. So if you could share your screen, just one thing that has come through from the moderators. If you hit F5 when you're sharing your screen, it will take up the full space. So thanks very much. I look forward to hearing your contribution.
Good afternoon from Heraklion. Can you hear me? Okay. I share the screen. I share a text in PDF.
Lovely.
Okay.
As soon as I see it, I'll let you know, and I'll then mute myself. There we are. It's coming up.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Yep, that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Nikolaos. Look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Can I start the introduction?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to attend the online conference of strengthening citizenship education at local level. I must say that we're very glad hearing from the distinguished educational experts and the other members of the cluster the good practices at this current issue. Heraklion, as many of the UNESCO global network of learning cities members around the world, face severe challenges due to the coronavirus pandemic. The most important of them being how to keep the people informed and educated in order to face this crisis effectively. This process actually didn't stop. Distance working, distance learning, and web meeting became a part of our everyday lives. The Ministry of Education promoted online learning for all students in all education levels across the country. So, at the local level also, we took action to ensure that the learning process won't stop during the pandemic. Trying to minimize the impact of school closures, particularly for more vulnerable and disadvantaged communities, we ensure that social tutorial lessons continued during lockdown through remote learning. So we proceeded to relevant actions. We took a big digital step, developing our e-services for citizens. We provide helpline for vulnerable groups, the elderly and the disabled. Also assistance at home for the financially weak residents and for those who cannot or are not allowed to move from their homes because of the pandemic lockdown. That means medical and pharmaceutical care and provision of the essential supplies and handling administrative cases for them. In addition, the municipality made rapid listing and supply of the essentials means of protection against coronavirus for municipal employees. During the crisis, many citizens faced stress and psychological pressure, mental disorders, and internet addiction due to the isolation. Those are serious issues which can't be ignored. The Center of Prevention and Promotion of Psychosocial Health, CESAN as we call it, took actions to connect parents, teachers, and students with each other. The most popular program of CESAN is the online platform CESAN to Spiti Su, means CESAN like your home. This platform contains useful information, instructions, and guiding for COVID-19 pandemic, and a rich selection of educational and recreational topics for creative use of free time for the days of lockdown. The Municipal Athletic Department launched gymnastic programs every day, broadcasted via YouTube towards citizens to work out at home and stay healthy. Several cultural events are broadcasted on the municipality's cultural YouTube channel. Also, as public authority, through the municipal website and YouTube channels, we supply more and more information, events, and help for citizens' homes. And finally, the Lifelong Learning Center, which has been established as a part of the Municipal Department of Education and Lifelong Learning, began a new cycle of lifelong learning programs of general education for all members of the society, with particular focus on vulnerable social groups, such as the unemployed, refugees, migrants, Roma, elderly, and people with disabilities. From the beginning of 2020, 865 enrollments have been applied for more than 25 seminars on citizenship education, about the environment and recycling, health, education, and first aid seminars, seminars for new entrepreneurs, seminars for ICT skills in businesses, foreign languages, Greek language, etc. That's why we'll try to provide more computer-integrated programs through the Municipal Lifelong Learning Center in the future, improving technological skills and learning how to use educational platforms. That will open the window of digital learning and training, which can lead also to better work opportunities. Dear friends, nowadays, as we did in spring at the first lockdown time, we try to mitigate the impact of localized closures and the fear of the economic uncertainty those closures bring to people's lives, particularly for more vulnerable and disadvantaged communities. And now, let me introduce my colleague, Deputy Mayor, Mr. Georgios Sisamakis, that present to you this first that I said to you before, the step that we took developing our e-services for citizens.
Thank you, Nikolaos. Please go ahead. You have
Hello? Can
yes.
you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. You have 5 more minutes. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for the invitation. It's so nice to be with you. Congrats for the great digital conference. Hope you're COVID-free, all of you, and healthy. I will present you what already Nico said, integration of digital services and citizenship education in the COVID-19 crisis. Well, everybody, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic posed new challenges and facilitated large scales of transitions. The demand for digital services has increased and led millions of people around the world to work remotely. Information and communication technologies have met this challenge by ensuring the uninterrupted operation of service and businesses. Every organization and citizens respond with different effectiveness to the challenge of digital transformation of public service. In Greece, the difficulties of having access to internet and being capable of using the digital services have been observed. These differences were determined by the income level, the age, the gender, or even the place of residence. The challenge to create simple digital services for all citizens, while simultaneously decrease the level of digital illiteracy, is a priority for the Municipality of Heraklion. Internet access must be recognized as a right of citizens and not simply as an infrastructure. The Municipality of Heraklion has a strategic plan for digital transformation and a clear roadmap for human-centered services. The first concern is to ensure the smooth operation of the services of the municipality, which is attended by numerous applications that have been developed in the framework of project Heraklion Smart City using free open source software. Management of citizen request services. There are more than 163 electronic services offered by the Municipality of Heraklion, available to all citizens, out of which 35 are completely digital, and the desired certificate is directly available online. It should be noted that from March, there are an increase of electronic requests from citizens by 50%, which may be due to COVID-19 policy, by appointment only in visiting the offices. To face this difficult challenge, the municipality improved the provision of electronic service to municipality for the citizens by providing 35 fourth-level services, as we said above. The electronic payment were activated, make it easy for citizens to pay their bills. Electronic applications for 100 free parking spaces were made accessible in the city center for citizens living in the area, receiving the permits as beneficiaries exclusively electronically. The municipality strengthened its wireless network by adding 12 new nodes to the already largest municipality wireless network in Greece, with over 115 nodes. On March, 34 cultural events and performances were made digital, presented on the YouTube channel of the Vikelea Municipality Library, and watched so far by over 6,000 digital viewers. On April, another digital channel was created for citizen recreation with 23 videos, 16 music concerts, 3 theatrical performances, and 2 art exhibitions. The digital channel Heraklion Art Culture was created on YouTube. From April to August, the channel has 68,300 views. Apart from Greece, other countries use the YouTube channel, such as Spain, Germany, Serbia, and etc. Furthermore, in order to offer quality digital performances to the citizens and support the artists, the Heraklion municipality converted its own main festival, Create a History of 5+1 Cultures, and Art on the Road into digital. 72 productions will be presented from September till April 21. The internet channel will be enriched by this new production. Now, citizen participation to the conference. The municipality, using the free software platform Gigi, has its own teleconference system installed in its own data center, where committees take place with citizen participation. Technical program consultations committee, urban local group committee, strategic plan committee. So far, 40 councils and committee teleconferences have been held with almost 500 participants, elected and employees, with a total duration of almost 3,000 minutes. All these actions contribute to citizenship, education, and practice, supporting the digital transformation of the Municipality of Heraklion for its citizens, and strengthening even more the identity of Heraklion as smart digital city. Those simple things from me, and now Eirini Papadaki, the other Vice Mayor, will present you his topic. Thank you for me.
That's one thing. Please be careful with time. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you.
I'm very pleased I'm Eirini Papadaki, Deputy Mayor of Social Services of Municipality of Heraklion. I'm very pleased to participate in this special event, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity. An issue which I believe concerns an important part of our lives today, and that we are particularly interested in, is the interaction of generations, the communication and dialogue between different age groups. There are plenty of benefits to receive from the intergenerational cooperation. One of them is the transfer of knowledge from one generation to another, the intergenerational learning, as we call it. This term describes the way in which people of all ages can coexist in the same learning environment. That is, to learn with each other and from each to other. An important part of lifelong learning where different generations can acquire skills, values, and knowledge. It is valuable as it contributes to the development of solidarity and mutual understanding, to the strengthening of social cohesion, to the treatment of discrimination, and to the promotion of diversity as a factor that enriches life. Before the outbreak of the pandemic, we had the chance to organize a series of events in collaboration with the Archaeological Museum, which were very exciting and successful. The action took place last Christmas, when we organized storytelling events with the participation of elderly people from the centers from Open Protection of the Elderly of the Municipality of Heraklion. During the events, grandparents narrated stories about Christmas to elementary school children. The active beneficiaries had the opportunity and the joy to get in touch with the children and to transfer them the customs and tradition of Christmas as they had experienced them during their own childhood. They shared their memories of past times and revived the tales of their own grandmothers. Stories of preparation of traditional sweets and food, stories of goblins and of the traditional carols they sang house to house in their neighborhoods. In addition, they taught the children the craft of handmade knitted ornaments and Christmas sweets. The children traveled in time through the narrations of the elderly. They enjoyed participating, asking questions, making their own remarks, and crafting handmade ornaments. Taking place in the unique environment of Archaeological Museum of our city, both the passion and joy of the elderly who pass their knowledge to young children and the dedication and interest of children who listen in complete silence to their stories made a deeply moving experience. Unfortunately, the pandemic changed our next plans. We hope that the conditions will soon allow us to organize similar events and to build bridges of communication between the elderly and young in an effort to bring different generations closer, giving the opportunity to the elderly to transfer their experiences to the younger generation and inversely giving the chance to the younger ones to increase their level of awareness towards the elderly is, I think, an invaluable lesson. I have some photos I don't know if I can show you. And thank you very much. Maybe
later, I think. Thank you. Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation from Heraklion. Much appreciated. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Giving us this time, and thank you very much for this conference. We are very glad to participate in the global UNESCO Global Network, and we hope we will see you again, not in the conditions, but live. Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you. So a compliment to the contribution from our colleagues in Heraklion is Mr. Freddy Mauricio Montero Mora's presentation from the city of Escazú, which has a wonderful city emblem, very unusual. It's a flying witch, very, very, very striking. So I look forward to this presentation, and Freddy, I'm going to move over to you now. Can you unmute yourself? Thank you. Lovely. You've 10 minutes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been quite an experience to connect, as many of you might happen, but finally we got it made. My name is Freddy Mauricio Montero. I am the responsible for social, cultural, and educational services from the Municipality of Escazú. I am an anthropologist, political scientist, and I also studied teaching and educational management. I'm going to share my presentation.
And just a reminder, hit F5 once it's up there, so it goes full screen. Thank you.
I don't get it. Okay.
Visible there. Thank you. Please continue. Ready?
Okay. So Escazú, it's a land of contrast. It's a little city. It is only 34 and 49 square kilometers. We have 70,000 inhabitants, but we have a land altitude that goes from 900 to 2,400 meters above sea level. It creates a lot of different ways of living of our population. We are the main hub of commercial, banking, and gastronomy and hotel industry of the capital of San Jose. We have also the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city, but at the same time, we have side-by-side very impoverished communities living in our communities. About 16% of the population of the territory are international migrants, especially coming from Nicaragua, Colombia, and Venezuela. We also have strong rural and peasant tradition communities up in the mountains who are still present, working especially in the agricultural side. So all these create a big challenge. The challenge is how to promote a local sense of belonging in this context where you have so many differences, and how to foster local and social integration and teamwork on behalf of the community, where there are a lot of groups that create a lot of distrust among themselves. This is the seal of the city that I wanted also to share with you. We have that flying witch, and I wanted to explain to you why we have this seal. In the pre-colonial times, there were the indigenous women who, with their knowledge of healing, they heal a lot of people, and the city became very famous for these healers, female healers, and they were also known as witches, but good witches. And this is the official seal that we have now in the city, and you have the label up that says Escazú, City of Witches, of female witches. The next, okay, I wanted to share also this important part of our city is that Escazú, it's the hub also of the cultural heritage of the ox herding and ox cart tradition that was proclaimed by UNESCO as one of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. We have these parades of peasants with their ox carts that have this tradition also of craft painting. That is one of the main cultural creations that create pride for our community. Next one, please. So in this context, what I want to talk to you about is what is citizenship education for our city. These are like the main aspect that we've been trying to focus on: fostering intercultural dialogue, focusing municipal services on cultural, economic, and social vulnerable communities, strengthening community self-esteem through the recognition of local identities and the sense of belonging, promoting gender equality throughout all social community organizations, integrating migrants and refugees to the ongoing community social life. It's important also to explain that here in Costa Rica, formal education is responsible only for the central government. So we work, especially at in the municipal level, on non-formal education, and also what we call the open education, that it's the adult education, people who abandoned the formal education, and then municipal services attend them to prepare them for the exams that they have to take in order to complete their formal education. Now I'm going to share with you some examples of activities that we've been doing in citizen education. There's a lot of things a lot of different examples that it could address, but now I'm going to concentrate on in these three. First, I want to share with you the Municipal Women's School of Citizenship and Leadership. One of the aspects that we have in our community is that there are very few women working in prominent positions in the associations, in all the organizations of the community. So that's the reason why we created this school. This school, the students have to go through a process of learning that takes about 2 years. And we did it with an agreement with the University of Costa Rica. They study different aspects such as leadership and gender, social communication, social conflict resolution, management strategies, and also there's an aspect very important that is peer learning from local social organizations led by women. So there's an opportunity to share and also create social awareness among themselves and share experiences and how it's about to lead a social organization by women. We have different female leaders coming from all kinds of organizations, such as neighborhood associations, religious groups, political parties, cooperatives, productive ventures, environmental associations, and also cultural associations. This has created a big impact in the position of women in local groups in our city. Next one, please. The other aspect is to foster creativity and innovation through our Municipal School of Arts. We work on arts, but also try to foster the traditional ways of creating and innovating. We foster not only what we call like the professional arts, but also the folk arts, the folk expressions that are part also of our traditions. As you can see, the children playing with the traditional rhythms of our city. Next one, please. The other aspect that I wanted to share with you is how we foster migrant and refugee social integration. we work especially with children, and we use football as the way of promoting values such as teamwork, respect to social and cultural differences, gender awareness, and create life skills in children who come from communities that are multinational in our city. We're talking about communities, about neighborhoods where about 30–40% of the people who live there are migrants, and there's a lot of problems of misunderstanding about between national and migrants families, and a lot of stereotypes. And we're talking about communities that are very impoverished. So this is a way that we work together with children, male and female, working together not to create professional football players. The aim of this project is to educate values through football and promoting integration, respect, and also this program has a service of scholarships for education that we offer for the students that for the participants of these groups. Next one. And this is the last example that I wanted to share with you. We created in the municipality a local network of social cooperative responsibility. We have about 60 big companies that are located in our city, and we created this network where we put together all the different projects of social corporate responsibility, and we coordinate them from the municipality, and we put all these initiatives in order with our municipal development plan, and that has given us a big opportunity to really take advantage of all the different initiatives that the corporates have. And in this way, we've been developing different kind of projects in the areas of employment, social and educational issues, environmental and risk management, cultural, artistic, and recreation issues. All these projects that we put together with the cooperation of the private sector, we aim the impact to the vulnerable communities. And it's very interesting because through these projects, you have employees from the private sector working together with neighbors, municipal officials, developing and crafting together projects of social impact. This is something new here in Costa Rica. There is not other city that has this kind of networks of public and private alliances, and it's been very helpful for us to promote this kind of projects and take advantage of the different opportunities that the private sector has. This is it that I wanted to share with you, and I really appreciate very much the opportunity that you have given to me to share a little bit what we do in our city. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Mucho gusto.
Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm about the Brujas in the web chat there, and some appreciation from Apple. So thank you very much. That adds another layer to the discussion so far.